You've been living with a blindfold on, not over your eyes but over your soul, because what you call yourself that might not be yours at all. There is a force within you, silent, dark and persistent, that has been directing your steps since the beginning. It doesn't scream, it doesn't explain itself, but it pulls the strings of your life from behind the curtain. This isn't fate, it isn't bad luck, and it certainly isn't your personality. It is something much older, something buried deep, something that knows your name even when you've forgotten your own. You've felt its weight, that strange magnetic pull toward your own destruction, the repeated relationships that echo the same heartbreak, the decisions you regret the moment they're made, the silent shame, the restless nights, the inner voice that whispers, "You'll ruin this too." You might have called it anxiety, overthinking, emotional chaos. But what if all of that is a message, not a malfunction, but a signal? Carl Jung believed there's a part of you that operates beneath your awareness, not broken, not evil, just exiled. And until you meet it face to face, you will never understand why your life feels like it's spinning in circles. This isn't just psychology, this is soul work. Jung didn't want to fix people. He didn't believe you were a machine in need of repair. He believed you were fragmented, torn between the mask you wear and the truth you hide. He called the path back to your essence individuation. And it's not about perfection, it's about wholeness. But here's the price. To become whole, you have to meet your shadow, the part of you that you've spent a lifetime running from. Everything you fear in yourself, your anger, your envy, your selfishness, your pain, lives in that shadow. But the deeper secret, so does your power. The very force that can destroy you is also the one that can set you free. That's the paradox Jung uncovered. Your freedom isn't found in denying who you are. It's found in embracing the parts you've disowned. And that's where this journey begins, not with positive thinking, not with motivation, but with the decision to look within, truly look and say, I want to see what I've refused to see. Because once you take that first honest glance into the unconscious, nothing will ever look the same again. In the next part, we'll walk with Jung into the deepest terrain of the human psyche, a map not of theories, but of truths your soul has been aching to remember. Most people live their entire lives without ever meeting themselves. They succeed, they fail, they fall in love, they break, yet deep inside something essential remains untouched. Jung was not interested in helping you function better in a sick society. He was interested in healing your soul. Not by offering quick fixes, but by guiding you to the roots, where pain begins but also where transformation is born. He mapped the human psyche like a sacred cartographer of the invisible. He discovered that your mind is not just a container of memories and thoughts. It is a battlefield of forgotten forces, ancient energies and unspoken truths. At the center of this map lies the shadow, yes, but around it orbit the archetypes, the collective unconscious, and the fragments of your true self, all waiting to be seen. And the first step is to stop pretending you already know who you are. This video is not just an explanation, it is a mirror, and mirrors can be dangerous, because once you see, you can't unsee. Jung warned that the unconscious, when ignored, doesn't disappear. It controls you. It chooses your partners. It decides when you sabotage yourself, and it whispers in your ear, this is just the way you are, when in truth it's not you at all. It's the parts you've exiled to survive. And here comes your moment of power, the act of writing. When you write something, you're not just expressing. It's the first manifestation of a new self. So I want to ask you, which part of yourself have you been avoiding the most? Maybe it's your anger, your sadness, your jealousy, or maybe it's your desire to finally be free. Write it in the comments or in a paper near you, because by naming it, you're already beginning to reclaim it. This is not easy work, but it is the only work that matters. And if you're still here, It means your soul is ready to remember. In the next part, we'll begin to uncover the deep ocean beneath your conscious mind, the mysterious realm that Jung called the collective unconscious. There you'll see that you are not just an individual. You are a living expression of something much greater, much older, and far more powerful. Imagine that everything you believe to be unique about you, your thoughts, your fears, your desires, might not be yours alone. Imagine that buried beneath your personal memories lies a vast psychic ocean shared by all of humanity. This is not fiction. It's not metaphor. It's Jung's greatest discovery, the collective unconscious. A realm of symbols, myths, and ancient truths that live inside you, even if you've never seen them with your eyes. Jung believed that your personal story floats like a tiny island on top of this great sea. Beneath the surface, countless forces swirl, forces that have shaped human beings for thousands of years. When you feel abandoned, you awaken an ancient wound. When you long for meaning, you're responding to a call that predates language. These aren't just emotions. They are echoes from the beginning of time. Every culture across every era has told the same stories. The hero's journey, the wise old sage, the innocent child, the devouring mother, the betrayer. These patterns repeat not because of coincidence, but because they are written into the human soul. You carry these symbols in your dreams, your fantasies, your relationships. They guide you, bind you, and break you until you learn to see them for what they are. And here's the part that changes everything. You are not alone in your suffering. The same archetypes that haunt you have haunted millions before you. What feels personal is actually ancestral. What feels like your private pain is often the pain of the collective, passed down through generations, waiting for someone brave enough to feel it consciously. Now, we'll bring light to these invisible actors within your psyche. Because the collective unconscious is not empty, it is populated. And the ones who live there influence you more than anyone around you. These are the archetypes. And unless you learn to name them, you'll continue to live a life that was never truly yours to begin with. There are characters living inside you, not metaphors, not imaginary friends. Real psychic forces that shape how you love, fear, trust, sabotage, and survive. Jung called them archetypes, primordial blueprints of human behavior, emotion, and meaning. You didn't choose them, you inherited them. They are older than your culture, your language, even your name. These archetypes are not passive. When activated, they take over. They don't whisper, they possess. Have you ever felt like you were watching yourself do something, powerless to stop it? That wasn't weakness, that was possession. By what? Maybe the wounded child, the rejected lover, the inner warrior, the martyr. Each of these has its own pattern, its own energy, and its own script. The danger is not in their existence, it's in your ignorance of them. The archetypes only control you when they remain unconscious. That's when the same stories repeat again and again. You fix others, but neglect yourself. You chase love that wounds. You fear success more than failure. And every time you say, "I don't know why I do this," that's your cue to stop and listen. Someone inside you is speaking. Jung identified many of these figures: the hero who seeks to conquer but secretly fears vulnerability, the wise one who hides behind intellect to avoid feeling, the shadow, the most feared of all, holding the parts you've exiled, and perhaps the most misunderstood, the anima and animus, the inner feminine in men and the inner masculine in women. These energies must unite within, or your soul remains divided. In the next part, we'll confront the most dangerous of them all. Not because it's evil, but because it's denied, rejected, banished to the depths. It is your shadow, and as long as you pretend it doesn't exist, it will run your life from the dark. But once you turn toward it, something extraordinary happens. You stop being a puppet and start becoming a force. There's a part of you that you've tried to erase. You've hidden it behind smiles, performance, kindness, even spirituality. But it watches you, always. And when you lose control, when you say something cruel, when you sabotage something beautiful, that's when it slips through the cracks. This is the shadow, and it knows exactly where you're most vulnerable, because it is you. Jung believed that your darkest emotions aren't mistakes. They're mirrors. Anger, envy, pride, jealousy. These aren't intruders. They're exiled children of your psyche, begging to be acknowledged. The more you ignore them, the louder they get. They show up as projections, as judgments, as fears that paralyze you at the edge of your dreams. You think you're fighting the world, but the battle is inside. Every trait you despise in others often lives within you, unrecognized. That's why the good person who never admits their own shadow becomes the most dangerous. They don't integrate their rage, they project it. They don't process their desires, they repress them. Jung warned us, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. And here's something important to remember. This work takes time. It's not about fixing yourself in one video or one book. The journey of self-discovery happens step by step, layer by layer. That's why we're here, to walk beside you through each unveiling. And when you subscribe to this channel, you ensure that each new insight, each new piece of this map, reaches you at the right time. You won't have to search for it, your soul will be reminded. So if this journey speaks to you, click the subscribe button. Let the next door open when it's ready. You were never just one person. You became who others needed you to be. You wore the smile they expected. You silenced the rage they feared. You buried the chaos they couldn't understand. Over time, that adaptation became a mask, a carefully crafted version of you that fits into society, earns approval, and keeps the peace. Jung called this the persona. And the tragedy is, most people live and die inside it. The persona is useful. It helps you navigate the world. But when you believe it is you, you lose touch with everything that doesn't fit the mask. Your needs, your wildness, your truth. And that's when the suffering begins. A soul confined, an ego overinflated. Our self disconnected from its roots. You appear successful, kind, stable, but inside there's a quiet scream you've learned to ignore. Jung taught that suffering isn't an error, it's a signal. When your outer identity strays too far from your inner truth, pain appears, not as punishment but as a call. The anxiety, the numbness, the feeling that something's missing. These are not flaws, they are the language of the soul, trying to pull you back to the center. Trying to remind you that you were never meant to be only what others accept. And here's the painful paradox. The more you try to be good, the more you lose your authenticity. You become fragmented, torn between the person you show and the one you hide. The true self doesn't shout, it waits, it watches, it speaks in discomfort, in dreams, in moments of deep silence. And it waits for the moment when you are finally tired of pretending. In the next part, we'll begin to understand what this collapse of illusion is truly about. Jung called it the process of individuation. It's not self-improvement, it's not manifestation, it's not performance, it's death and rebirth. The beginning of becoming whole, not perfect, and it starts the moment you're willing to stop being who you were told to be. You can't become whole without breaking first. And that's what individuation demands. Not success, not peace, but collapse. The kind that strips away illusions, roles, and expectations. Jung called this the most sacred journey of the human psyche, a return to the self. But to walk this path, you must face everything you've denied, everything you thought you'd buried, everything you hoped you'd outgrow. Individuation is not about becoming your best version. It's about becoming your full version, with all your contradictions, wounds, dreams, and shadows. It is the brutal realization that you are not just light, but darkness too. That you are not only kind, but cruel. Not only strong, but deeply fragile. This honesty doesn't break you, it frees you, because what is true can finally stop hiding. you begin to see that every mask you've worn was armor. Every lie was survival. Every version of yourself was a strategy to be loved in a world that made your authenticity feel dangerous. But now, you don't want strategies anymore. You want truth. You want to remember who you were before the world told you who to be. That desire is the soul waking up, and it doesn't happen all at once. Individuation reveals itself in heartbreaks, failures, endings. Each time something falls apart, a belief, a relationship, an identity, a new space is created. Space for something real. Something ancient inside you stirs, and you realize that your chaos has always been sacred. It was never punishment. It was preparation. In the next part, we'll explore the secret language of the soul, how it speaks not with logic but with symbols, stories, and dreams. Because when the ego finally breaks, what rises from the ruins is something wiser, something deeper, something that has been waiting all along to be heard. Every night while you sleep, your soul speaks. It doesn't use words. It doesn't argue or explain. It sends symbols, images, fragments of forgotten truths. And while the world laughs at dreams, treating them as meaningless noise, Jung walked in the opposite direction. For him, dreams were sacred, messages coded in the language of the unconscious, sent to restore what your waking mind had forgotten. Dreams don't lie. When you drift too far from your essence, they call you back. When your persona becomes too tight, they tear a hole. Falling, drowning, flying, being chased, none of it is random. It's not your brain discharging data. It's your psyche trying to be heard, trying to warn, trying to guide. Each image has a pulse, a voice, a meaning only you can decode. Jung believed that dreams serve to balance the psyche. If your ego is too inflated, a dream might humble you. If you've lost your passion, a dream might awaken fire. That recurring dream you keep having, it's a symbol refusing to be ignored. The house, the mirror, the child, the snake. These are not just dream props, they are soul signatures. Each one carries a message from within, but modern life taught you to dismiss them, to wake up and scroll past the very key you needed. Jung knew this would happen. He warned that the further we drift from symbolic thinking, the more lost we become. Depression, anxiety, emptiness, they're not just emotional states. They are consequences of ignoring the symbolic compass within. Your dreams are that compass, and when you stop listening, you start drifting. And perhaps that's why some images seem to return again and again, as if they had a life of their own, a presence, a rhythm, like something ancient inside you is trying to rise. The dream is only the doorway. What waits behind it are the forces that shaped it. Patterns, personalities, energies. In the stillness of sleep, they move through you. In waking life, they often stay, waiting to be seen. We live in a time where everything is loud, but nothing is truly heard. The world promised us freedom, but delivered anxiety. Promised connection, but left us drowning in comparison. We scroll, we consume, we perform, and quietly, we forget who we are. Jung saw this coming. He wrote not for times of peace, but for times like this, when identity collapses and the soul demands to be remembered. We chase answers, titles, solutions, but what we long for is something far deeper, meaning. And meaning doesn't come from the outside. It comes from descent into the dark, into the dreams, into the wounds. Jung taught us that the soul doesn't speak in productivity. It speaks in pain, in poetry, in symbols. And when we finally listen, we don't just understand ourselves, we begin to heal. The world won't hand you your essence back. That's a path you must walk, but not alone. This channel is a space for that journey, piece by piece, layer by layer. If this video stirred something inside you, then trust it. Let it guide you deeper. Subscribe not just to a channel, but to the unfolding of your own psyche. And when the next video arrives, let it find you ready, because the soul, once awakened, does not go back to sleep. So here's your invitation. If something resonated, follow that thread. The video waiting on your screen is not just a suggestion, it's the next step, the next mirror, the next descent. Click, watch, continue. You are not broken, you are not behind, you are only beginning. And the path back to yourself is already unfolding. Welcome home.